Please welcome back the Steel City Con, John Schneider. There he is.
He said, I've got some business to do. I don't know it's going to be 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Wow. Hi, everybody. How are you? Good. Oh, I recognize a bunch of you.
Yeah.
From the line over there. That was great. Nice to see you.
Yeah. And it's certainly nice to see you. Thanks for coming back.
It's a pleasure. This is great to be here.
It's been a while. It's been a minute.
It's 18, I think.
2018.
Yeah. So it's great.
Tom. So I got to add, we're going to cut right to some of the chase on this. How did the Dukes...
It's a Dukes reference, right? Yeah. We're just going to fly right into it. Right. Okay.
How did that series come about, and what did you think about when you first read the script and all of that stuff?
Dukes of Hazzard?
Yeah.
Gosh, I was 18. I wasn't thinking about much, except girls and beer. At that point, occasional pizza. I started theater when I was 8 in New York State, and so by the time Dukes of Hazzard came around, my mother had moved to Atlanta with IBM, and I had done every bit of theater you could do in Atlanta at that point while going to high school. In fact, I went to summer school 2 years in a row so I could get out of high school earlier because I felt it was in the way. And guess what? I was right. So when I auditioned for Dukes, that week I auditioned to replace John Travolta in Welcome Back, Kotter. And Stephen Shortridge, I think, is the name of the person who got that, because they thought I was from the South. I was not. And I also auditioned for a movie with Robert Duvall called The Great Santini. Yep. And I didn't get that one either. But there was this other thing called The Dukes of Hazzard. And remember, this was 1978, so it was 2 years after, well, actually, 2 years after they filmed Smokey and the Bandit, but only 1 year after that was really a small movie. I think it cost $3 million, and it grossed $260 million in 1977. And there wasn't even any VHS yet, so there was no streaming, there was no nothing. This was just people buying tickets to sit in movie theaters and watch this movie. And it was the top grossing movie of that year until another little movie that nobody wanted to make beat it. So in 1977, Smokey and the Bandit, a Southern horsepower comedy, was the number 2 movie for the entire year, beaten only by Star Wars. Wow. Yeah. So when I read the Dukes of Hazzard little sides, they don't give you the whole thing, they give you just the scenes. I thought, oh my God, this is Smokey and the Bandit on television. This is mine. This is what I've been working. I'm 18, right? This is what I've been slaving my whole life for. But I believe that they say that success is when preparation meets opportunity, but you have to expect the opportunity. You have to prepare, but you have to expect it. You know, everything I did, everything you do, you should look, everything you are about to do, put it that way. Everything you are about to do, you should look at that as this is this great opportunity I've been living for my whole life. I'm ready for it. I'm going to grab it with both hands, and I'm going to run with it as fast as I can. So that's how I felt at 18. That's how I felt when I read the pilot for Smallville. That's how I felt when I read the scenes for the Haves and Have-Nots. So that's how I live. I like to tell people that and I recommend it, that you live with the weight on the balls of your feet, not on your heels. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, yeah.
There you
exactly.
go.
Well, occasionally you need the brake, but you got to feather the brake and just hit the hell out of the gas pedal. But so I auditioned for Dukes, 1978. I was working in a building called the, this is a very long answer, sorry.
Oh, this is great.
But I was working in a building called the Omni International Hotel in Atlanta. It was at that time, one of the biggest buildings in Atlanta. Not anymore. I think it's gone now. But I was doing a musical variety show called the Manhattan Yellow Pages. singing and dancing and wearing spandex and all that. Yeah, it was crazy. And why I say that is they were looking for people 24 to 30 from the rural South with no acting experience who had done some dirt track racing. So I was 18 from Westchester County, New York. I'd been doing theater for 10 years and had only had my driver's license for 2.5. So naturally, I told them that I was 24 from Snailville, Georgia, and I had just come in first place in my class at the Georgia School of High Performance Driving, which did not exist in 1978. And they believed all of it. And another saying, you know, they say that the old sayings are old because they're true. You don't get a second chance to make a first impression. So that's what I told them, and then I auditioned. It took a while to get it, but I got it. But I'm here to tell you, I knew I was going to get it. It was like, and it wasn't, oh, you're so good, you're going to get this. No, it was, like I said, that's it. That's what you've been preparing all these, 10 years is a long time when you're 18. Now, I mean, shoot, I'll wait that long for dinner. But, so it was an amazing, wonderful time, and I auditioned in California for 5.5 weeks. I was supposed to be there for about 5 days. But it wasn't until Tom Wopat showed up and the chemistry between us was just so right. And Catherine. Catherine was, I think she was already there. But there was something about he and I that they said it wasn't that's him and that's him. It was that's them. That's Bo and Luke right there. And we started, he auditioned, and it was not even a week later that we started filming back in Georgia, 30 miles from where I went to high school.
Amazing.
So if that's not God paying attention,
there you go.
So if we're built in God's image, one thing I know for sure is that God pays attention, so should we.
There you go.
Okay?
Yeah. So I got to ask you.
Please.
Yeah.
Is there any water? Anybody have any water? I drink a lot.
Sure, we can spare some water. I got to ask you though, being that hot on the heels of Smokey and the Bandit, did any of the actors ever, like Burt Reynolds, ever come over, or Jackie Gleason, or Jerry Reed?
Son. Jimmy Best, who played Roscoe, was dear friends with Burt. Thank you very much. And so they saw each other, but I don't remember Burt ever coming to the set because he was the biggest star in the world at the time, and that is great, but he couldn't go anywhere. Jackie Gleason, no, he didn't. He didn't come around. When I started doing more country music, I knew Jerry pretty well. We toured a little bit. We did some concerts and things together. But I got to tell you my Smokey and the Bandit story. So 1976, I'm 16. I'm in 10th grade, I guess. Anyway, and I hear on the way to school, I'm driving, right? So I'm driving, and I hear that they're filming this thing called Smokey and the Bandit. Burt Reynolds and Hal Needham are filming at the Oakwood Fairgrounds just outside of Atlanta. And so I turned my car around and I went there instead of going to school. Because I'm thinking, this is the opportunity I've been waiting for. I'm going to go there and they're going to discover me. So I went to the Oakwood Fairgrounds and I parked in the dirt and climbed a fence and found somebody with a headset on. Back then they all looked like CIA, they had the walkie-talkie there were no cell phones, right? And I'm 16. So I tapped this guy on the shoulder, and I said, hey, man, I'm sorry I'm late. It's traffic on I-85 is a bear. Where is hair and makeup? I promise you I did this. And he looked at me like, what? And he said, okay, well, you see down there, and in the middle of a parking area, there was the circus. They call it the circus because that's where they keep all the crazy people, which is now us, right, the actor types. And he said, it's down, you see the third trailer on the, I said, yeah, okay. And he said, all right, go on. I said, look, I'm really sorry. I said, don't worry about it. It's okay. We haven't started yet. And I got about 10 steps, and he said, hey. No. Would you like breakfast? Yeah, sure. I'll take, yeah. What do you got? He said, we got, so I ordered breakfast from this guy, and I went down and I went to the makeup trailer. They fixed up my hair and put god-awful pancake makeup on me. And I went out, and at the very end of Smokey and the Bandit, there's a guy standing in the crowd, and Jackie Gleason's tire falls off and hits this guy. And that's me, and that's it. That's it. Because nobody knew what to do with me. But I spent the day talking with Jackie Gleason, because when I came out of hair and makeup, there was this guy sitting in a director's chair and a little kid with a red wagon full of ice and a keg of beer. You can't make this up. I mean, this is. I got an A. I wrote a report on this day in 11th grade, my junior year, and I got an A in English, the only A I ever got in English. And I saw him out there, and I thought, oh, my God, that's Jackie Gleason. And I said, excuse me, sir. And he's, ah. I said, have you been to the White Horse lately? Yeah. He's drinking. And I said, what about the Elbow Room? Eh? I said, the Goodie Shop. Come on, you've been to the Goodie Shop. I'm 16, right? This is the great one. This is Jackie Gleason. Come here. How the hell do you know about all these places? I said, well, I'm from Mount Kisco. So these were all bars, because he lived in Mount Kisco. Yeah. So these were all bars that everybody bragged about Jackie Gleason had been in Mount Kisco. So we just talked, and he's wearing those were women's sunglasses he was wearing. Yeah, he grabbed them off a Teamster or something, and was so aggravated that he had to be. I don't know what the hell Needham is thinking having me here playing this redneck sheriff. And so it was great. But come to find out later, they saw that he and I had hit it off, and apparently that was very rare. And so nobody threw me out. So I had that kind of nerve. And then when Burt did that god-awful movie, the Dukes of Hazzard, oh, God. And he did it because he wanted to make it, he wanted somebody who loved the source material to be on the show. And I also worked with Hal Needham. I developed a couple shows with Hal Needham. We never got them sold. I did a movie called Bandit. It was a three-movie miniseries on television. And I played the Sheriff Enright. And when I met Hal, I said, hey, I was in Smokey and the Bandit. And he said, no, Sonny, because Sonny Schroyer was in it. He played the motorcycle cop. Ben Jones was in it. He played a guy, you ain't seen him. That's Ben's, a little more than I did, but not much, okay? And he said, Ben was in it, but wait a minute, you were that kid. You were that, nobody knew what, that guy almost got fired because of that? I said, I'm sorry. Anyway, I was in it. He said, no wonder you're famous, right? Then Burt, years later, talking with Burt, and I said it again. I said, he was in Dukes of Hazzard. I said, I'm glad you were in Dukes of Hazzard because, I was in Smokey and the Bandit. He said, no, you weren't. He said, Sonny was in it, and Ben was, wait a minute, you were that kid. You know that guy almost got, no wonder you're famous. So that's my Smokey and the Bandit. If you haven't seen the last movie Burt Reynolds did, it's called The Last Movie Star. If you have not seen that, you owe it. And if you're a Burt Reynolds fan, you really owe it to yourself and to Burt and his memory and all the wonderful stuff that he did. You should see it. It's really quite wonderful. And if you want to see him and Jimmy Best, then watch The End, and then watch Hooper. Jimmy's in Hooper. Jimmy's so funny in Hooper. And
Breaking In.
yeah, what's that?
He was in Breaking In when.
That's right.
That was.
That's right. So check out that relationship. They knew each other. I think they knew each other. I believe I saw an episode of Gunsmoke in black and white where both of them are in it. Jimmy Best and Burt Reynolds, because Burt was in there. He played an Indian, of course. I don't know, but they were friends for a long, long time, and he was a great guy. And he was also great friends with Kathy Bach for a long time from when he did what was the TV show Evening Shade, right? So anyway, that's a very long answer. You didn't even ask that question.
That's a very great answer.
You didn't even answer that or ask that one. It's been fun.
Oh yeah.
It's been fun, but no, I'm gonna know you're here for something. Everybody's here for something, for some reason, for some purpose. And even if you've already done whatever that is, keep doing it. You know, wait on the balls of your feet.
I got to ask you about one of my favorite character actors, Denver Pyle.
Boys.
I mean, he goes back to Andy Griffith. I mean, what kind of person was he outside of his character? Or was that really him?
That was really him. He was full of wisdom. He was full of advice. He knew when to give it. He knew when not to. He would, like I said, I was 18 through 25. And 3 networks, and Dukes of Hazzard was a top 5 and often #1 show. So life was pretty crazy. And he watched out for me. He was just wonderful. My first, he was in a bunch of John Ford movies, but my first memory of Denver Pyle is he played Doris Day's father in the Doris Day Show. And I think he was either her age or a couple of years younger than her when he played her father. But we were at the Holiday Inn in Conyers, Georgia, filming the first 5 episodes of Dukes. And in the lobby, getting ready to go, I guess, to dinner. They had spaghetti on Thursdays, I think. And I was flipping through. We used to have to do this to turn the channel. Well, right? Unless you had kids, and then they did that to turn the channel. I got out of the house before I know my name wasn't remote. But I was flipping through the channels, and Andy Griffith was on. And maybe the Horse Soldiers, I'm not sure. He was in a really big John Ford movie. I don't remember what it was. And he had just finished doing Grizzly Adams. So the Grizzly Adams Christmas special was on. And there's 3 channels. He's on all of them. And he came in, waiting to go somewhere. And I said, what is this like? And he said, if you play your cards right, you'll know. And he said, but it's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. So you could watch yourself, and now I can turn. Of course, there's a lot more. The odds are better for me. But it is amazing to be able to watch something out here, signing autographs, from a show that's 45 years old to a show that's 24 years old to a show that's 5 years old to something that just came out last week. It really is amazing. It really is truly amazing. And I appreciate each and every one of you for allowing me to play. I refuse to call it work. Mm-hmm. I told a guy today, he said, I love your work. And I said, one summer during high school, I dug foundations with a shovel. That was work. This, not so much. This is not so much work. So thank you for allowing me to play all these years.
Nice. Yeah. I have one more question, then we're going to turn them over to the audience.
Sure.
Jonathan Kent, playing small. How did that come about, and did you find that you had to prepare differently as an actor for that role rather than,
Prepare? I had 3 teenagers at home. That prepared me. That prepared me for Jonathan Kent. So I was a big Superman, George Reeves Superman fan. So he was my Superman. And when I heard about Smallville, I think I just finished doing Dr. Quinn. I had just come off something else, so I was doing okay. I was paying the mortgage at that point, and I thought, I don't want somebody to come up with some stupid show and mess up my Superman. So I said, no. I had an agent who called me and said, hey, they want you to come read for this show called Smallville. I said, what's it about? Oh, it's Clark Kent. I said, no. And they asked 3 times. And I said no, and not because I thought I was some great thing, but because I was very protective of what I thought Superman was and who it should be. And they said, read it. Would you read the pilot? Excuse me. And I said, okay, I'll read the pilot, but I'm telling you, I'm not. And I read that thing, and that was one of the greatest scripts I'd ever read. And I called the agent, and I'm not crazy proud, but so I said, look, I don't care what I have. I will crawl over there to meet these people about this, because this is the greatest dad on television, and I've already played Michael Landon. Okay, so I did a movie called Michael Landon, The Father I Knew. And I've said, yes, absolutely, when? And I went in and met with them, and Al and Miles were big Dukes of Hazzard fans, which still I've cast some things now. Just because you know somebody doesn't mean they're right. But I came in and I told them, what I just said. I said, look, I'm very protective of this, and you guys, you are as well. You are more protective of this franchise or of this legend than I am. So what do I need to do? And they said, you need to read for the network, but as far as we're concerned, what you just said, that did it. So I went and I read with a bunch of other folks. I don't know who else was reading for Jonathan Kent, but they didn't get it. and it was such a wonderful experience to be able to bring. Well, actually, I'll be a little funny here because, like I said, I had 3 teenagers at home. It was nice to have one that had to listen to me. That was my 4th teenager was Tom Welling, right? So it was an honor, a great experience to do that show. And I just started watching little bits of it again because I do a singing show, and I have parts of my life back on a screen back there. It's kind of like a memorial, but I show up. Thank you. Most people are dead by the time they hear that laughter at their. But I've been watching some parts of Smallville. What a great show! What a great! I truly think that Smallville is the crown jewel of the Superman legend. I really do. Love Christopher Reeve, and he was on Smallville. He came, or actually Tom went to see him because he couldn't travel. But I think Christopher thought so too. Yeah, so that's why he agreed to do it. So I'm very proud of that show, very proud of Jonathan Kent, and the relationship that Tom Welling and I have is exactly like you would think. It's as good as set in stone as my relationship with the other TW in my life, which is Tom Wopat. How funny is that? Tom Wopat, Tom Welling. That's fascinating to me. Mm-hmm.
Let's grab some questions.
Yes.
What do you say? Raise your hand, and Carrie will come around and grab your. And by the way, thanks for coming back. It's nice to see you.
I love it. It's great to be here. Truly enjoy it.
Hi, so it's kind of a 2-part question about Smallville, but Lex was my favorite character, and I wondered if there were ever any of the interactions between Jonathan and Lex when you were reading the script that you kind of would have been like, wait a second, this kid is not responsible for the sins of his father. Like, was there ever a thought that went through your head on how that could have been handled differently? And in a world where writers are not pushing a plot, do you think if Jonathan had been more fatherly with Lex, the tragedy that became the villain would have been avoided?
I think that Jonathan would have given him one chance. One chance. They kind of did. I don't remember the episode, but there was one thing where Lex was given a little bit of rope to see if he would hang himself. And he did. I think Jonathan's love for his son and his love for his world, country, was so great that he didn't feel that that was worth the risk to do it twice. Because remember, Clark was Clark, but he was fragile when red kryptonite came around. There was some issues where if Lex had Clark's ear during that time, it could have gone really, really bad. But one of the reasons why I love the pilot so much was that they had that great scene where Lex had given him a truck. Just showed up at the farm. There's a truck, and Clark is so excited that the truck is there. And I take the keys from him and I tell him the story about Lionel Luthor and all the stuff that he did and why he's rich, why he's wealthy. And he said, "So you're saying the apple doesn't fall far from the tree?" And and this was me actually. It wasn't in the script. The words were in the script, but the actions were not, which is what Kevin Costner didn't realize when he played Jonathan Kent. I think poorly. But Jonathan Kent put the keys on a nail so that Clark could look at them. And he said, "That's not what I'm saying. I just wanted to make sure that you understood where the money came from that bought that truck." And then I walked away. That was great. So we talked a lot about what if Lionel had found Clark instead of Jonathan and Martha, and what would then Clark have become the greatest force for evil the world has ever known. And probably, you know, in that case, the nature of it is the strength and the abilities, and the nurture of it is what Lionel would have done with that soul. So we argued about how to raise children. I had a lot of arguments with Miles and Al about how to raise children, because they had little children. You know, they had, you know, how was school? Oh, how was school, right? I said, he's 16 years old. I don't care. And we'd say, I'd say, I got cows to feed. Which is why whenever I came in, or whenever Clark came home from school, it was always written that, you know, we were there, Jonathan and Martha were there waiting to find out, you know, are you going to play football? You know, what's going to happen? Did you meet a girl? No. So I said, I just can't. So I'd come in the door with my gloves, taking my gloves off, go grab my coffee or my milk or whatever it was, and say, "What?" Because that's what dads do. So I love the way they did it. Maybe one, no, I think they did great. I think they did great. And of course, Jonathan wasn't around when the camera moved in and saw that Jonathan being stern, harsh to Lex really kind of broke his heart. But that's probably why you loved him so much, because I didn't. Right? I didn't. Theater is tricky. Relationships are really tricky. You know, in our lives, we only get our perspective, and we presume we know the perspective of who it is we're talking to. But in cinema and television and movies, you get to see all of it. And it's wonderful. We just watched, Dee Dee and I watched a show called Shrinking. And oh my God, we were like, at the end of it, oh please God, I can't believe it. And this works so well with, don't jump. And this guy was treated terribly, and he did a terrible thing. If you haven't seen Shrinking, you should check it out. Harrison Ford's is I love Harrison Ford. I love everything he's ever done. Mosquito Coast, Regarding Henry, Star Wars, of course, everything. Air Force One. But this is the best thing he's ever done. You got to check it out. Shrinking. Okay, I'll try to answer quicker. No.
Hey, Charles Schneider.
How are you, my friend?
Good. I am a big fan of the Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeehaw!
Yeehaw. And I have an answer for you. How all the fight scenes you did? Like, I need to know what fight you did on Dukes, and you and Luke Duke always fight.
Yes. We
Yeah.
did all the fight scenes.
I like those fight scenes.
And I do too.
I like them so much. I like those fight scenes. That's awesome.
I love the fight scenes because I'm a big John Wayne fan. And in Westerns, they usually have a barroom fight, a saloon fight. So when we got to do that, when I was fighting the bad guys or they're fighting me, and I had all that hair, and the great thing about having a lot of hair is it, boom, it moves. Yeah. It moves when you get hit in the face, it moves. And yet hair acting. We used to call that hair acting. But that was a lot of fun. And the most fun I had was when Tom and I got to fight, which was only twice. Carnival of Thrills, and I think Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Duke or something. Every television show, if you last long enough, you are obligated to do the Jekyll and Hyde story. You're obligated to do the amnesia story. In our case, it was called My Son, Bo Hogg. So before, it's kind of, it's hard to know when you've jumped the shark, which is from Happy Days, right? We jumped the shark when the alien landed in Hazard County. But I'm so glad you like the fights. In the show that I do that has the memorial, there's a bunch of Smallville, but almost everything I picked out from Dukes to show people was a fist fight. Yep. So thank you. Well, we never really hit each other. We came close. Tom Wopat actually punched Gerald McRaney right in the mouth one day on Dukes because Gerald leaned in. There's a responsibility. The person who's punching has to miss, but you can't really shorten your arm. And the person that's being punched has to judge where they're standing as well. So it was Gerald's fault. But as far as I know, that's the only time anybody ever got really, and I mean down, boom. Tom's a Wisconsin dairy farmer, so when he hits you in the mouth, you've been hit in the mouth.
All right, got time for 2 more questions.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
When was the last time that you entered?
Where are you? Hi.
Or this outside there.
When was the last time you entered your car through the window?
Just this morning. How else would you get in a car? Getting in the car is easy. It's getting out. It's getting out that's hard. Yes. Uh-oh.
We'll
Hi,
get a couple
John.
more.
That was a quick answer. We
Yeah,
can
we'll
do
get a
2.
couple
Yes.
Sorry. Hi, John. Big fan of Dukes of Hazzard.
Thank you.
A question about you and Tom.
You're Canadian.
I am. Yeah. Sorry. We love you guys. You and Tom.
Love you too, eh?
You had a little bit of fallout with the network. I was just wondering, what was the response from the public, and how you felt the need for you to come back, you and Tom?
The fallout with the network? Oh, yeah. Well, the
Your
fallout was actually...
contract negotiations, they were trying to...
It's very
shortchange you.
technical. It's very technical. The fallout was with the studio. So there's a network who airs the show. There's a studio who owns the show and pays for half of the show. And the studio are the ones who own the rights to the lunchboxes and all the toys. What had happened was we had a contract. We had a piece of paper that said what percentage we were supposed to get. And we're working. We don't know. And so one day, Tom and I read in the Hollywood Reporter and Variety magazine that Warner Brothers, this is 1982 or 1983, that Warner Brothers they were so proud because they just grossed $230 million in Dukes of Hazzard merchandising. And we looked at each other because we had a deal like, we're both supposed to get 6% or split 6% or whatever. And I'd gotten a yo-yo, a Frisbee, some underoos, and about 60 grand. And I'm saying, well, something's wrong with this. So we had our people, we'll have your people call your people, but in this case, these were lawyers, and said, hey guys, what's going on here? And they refused to answer. So we tried 3 times, and the 3rd time they said, look, if you don't, we really have to. And this is important to note as well, this was in between seasons. So we just finished season 5, I think, because we love everybody on the show, and we thought this truly would be, they'd go, oh, could have had a V8, and they would fix it. But they didn't. And they refused to talk, and our guys said, look, they're supposed to show up for work in 6 weeks or something. We really need to to clean this up. And they didn't. So they said they're not going to come back so we didn't leave. You know, history has said, you know, we left. No, we didn't leave. We would never do that. We lived up to our end. We just wanted them to do the same thing. And they never did. So they did this big thing where they looked all over the planet for the Bo and Luke replacements. And the funny thing is, I did a commercial. I've known Byron Cherry since 1976, since I climbed over the fence and said, hey, where's hair and makeup? 2 years before Dukes. And I told the casting director, I said, if you want to replace me, the person you really need to get is Byron Cherry, because he's absolutely perfect. And it took them 2 months and 40,000 auditions to find the guy I recommended to begin with. And they just, now that I'm older, I realize that had they admitted that their current accounting procedures were less than accurate to us, they would have been saying the same thing to Wonder Woman, to Eight is Enough, to Knight Rider, to everybody. And they would have to, so now I know that. Had somebody said, look, you know, we got to, then we wouldn't, I don't think we would have done it. But we came back, Tom and I came back because we realized if we didn't, and we didn't get anything. We got no paychecks for 18 episodes is what we got. The one concession they made is that Sonny Schroyer had gone off to do a show called Enos. They did a spinoff called Enos, and it didn't work. So the one thing we said you must do is you must bring Enos back. I don't even know if Sonny knows that. And they said, well, we already have Cletus. And I said, the one concession we have, you people, forget about the $100 million times 2. Bring Sonny Schroyer back. And they did. And we came back because all of our friends would be out of work. And it would be our fault. That would have been our fault. We were right, but now at 65 and having played Jonathan Kent, being right doesn't necessarily mean it's the right thing to do. So we came back. The show went from, I think it was 60, when we were there, it was top 5. When we left, it was 66 out of 65 shows. And then we came back, we got back in the top 20 for the year and change that we were there. But you have to be careful with your words. And we had a publicist who is a huge publicity company in Los Angeles, still there, called Rogers and Cowan. And the gentleman who was Cowan came up with a press release. And it was, Bo and Luke won't be cheated and neither will we. Cheated is a very expensive word. So figure out chew the words carefully before you spit them out. But I was 24, what the hell did I know? And I was right. I was right. Who cares? Like what is it, Tommy Lee Jones says to Harrison Ford in The Fugitive. Harrison says, I didn't kill my wife. And he says, I don't care. They don't care, and they shouldn't have. They're not bad people. They were following a flawed accounting system. But we pushed them into a corner where they couldn't say, I could have had a V8. So there you go. One mistake. I've only made one mistake. Okay, maybe a couple more.
But thank you for coming out. Not a mistake
Thank
coming
you.
here.
Thank you all very, very
John
much.
Schneider, welcome him back. He's got to head back to
See
the
you back
table.
at the table. Anybody know, is it table first and then pictures, or?
It's table first and then
Okay.
pictures.
All right, thank you very much.
John Schneider, give it up.
Yeah! Always hold on to Smallville.
Excellent. So nice having him back. John Schneider.